Hi. I'm not sure where I'm going with this when I want to talk to you today, but it's important that we talk about this time of COVID virus, but more importantly, what tough love means. And I think during the pandemic, we're having time to put our life on pause. And within the last year, a little more than a year, I've lost 5 people that were close to me, but in particular my mother, and I lost my first husband. So in the matter of closure, I've had a lot of time to work through, process, and write. I do some writing as a hobby. But my main thing I wanted to tell you, 2 points about closure and about, especially about tough love, is just out of necessity with tough love, you have to set those parameters, and your hope is that with distance and with signs, I believe that signs from God telling you whether it's getting better or getting worse, but you have to stay at a safe distance, that while you're waiting, you have to keep in mind what the purpose of that waiting is. So tough love is, it's not about being so tough that you never want to have that person back. The goal of it is, at some point, if that person wakes up, you would want them back. But if they choose to keep going on and it goes on indefinitely, I guess the second part of what tough love is about is time keeps moving on. Somebody told me the saying once, one man cannot step into the same river twice. And that was true for me because time went on like water. My first husband left in September of '91, and I would say where I really lost him, where I lost sight of whether or not his tough love journey, whether, the sad part is it can end in death, but sometimes it doesn't have to. But we don't often think about the person who's waiting, what happens with that life, even if that first person recovers and makes those changes in their life that they need to. That the one who's waiting might not be there any longer because the water and the river keeps flowing, and I'm not the same person I was, and the water has changed, the river bottom has changed, and my relationships too have grown and gone on, and I just only hope that he was finding somewhere to have joy, and if he had recovered, that he was living a full life. Just only finding out a few days before his death, though, that was a shocker, and that's what threw me into actually grieving and just trying to deal with that situation, that I never had stopped loving him, but in my heart I was waiting. So sometime between, I would say, 1995 and 1998 is when I realized that life had gone on and that it wasn't going to be him and me. I mean, reality hit me that no matter how much I cared about him and didn't wish any bad on him, it wasn't going to be the two of us any longer. So a lot of people think of tough love as waiting out, and then when that person's well, you'll get him back. But the second part of waiting is that your life goes on, and that with changes in your life, you might not check back, not as much as you did, because you don't want to go crazy over just trying to find out where that person is. So the relatives who are listening, I hate to say on the bad news side of it that probably at some point when he went through a 12-step program, only being a couple hundred miles away from me or less, there might have been a chance. But I fell in love again, and the kids grew up, and I made another life, which was beautiful, which was God brought to me, and I have a good life now. But it did end in death. It wasn't on the street, thank God. He was for a while, but his life was surrounded by love. Each of us got a little part of his life. And I had the middle of it. I had him at his prime. So I would just go back to an old poem. I've written in many songs and poems about staying with him in my love for all the seasons of life, which I really believe I did. But a poem that I have about all of us in this time, and just thinking about the value of people in your world. And maybe for those of you still going through tough love with whomever, whether it's a child or a spouse or whomever, friend, it's about caring about the people around you and really giving a true altruistic love, not expecting back. And this is a poem, Busy People, that I wrote a long time ago. Busy people everywhere, people have a world to share, living people laughing, loving people giving. Now we're many as the stars, from where we started we've come far, learning, hoping, teaching, loving, helping, reaching. And I hope before we're done, we may find that we have won. God bless you all. Keep loving people.